This is Troubles Forgotten, a short story written by myself. The idea for this, again, comes from the Weekend Prompt Challenge, in which you write for 15 minutes based off a given prompt. The story for this comes from prompt 622, Knowing the future means grieving for things that haven't happened yet. If you would like to try this out too, I'll leave the link in the description. And here continues our story. Beneath the crackle of a fire, Patton sat. His crochet needle clicked with each ringlet, the baby blue thread serving as the foundation for his latest project. With a mug of hot chocolate at his side and the soft sounds of symphonies flowing through the air, Patton couldn't help but sigh comfortably. If this wasn't perfection, then it had to be close. The best part about it was the man who sat at his side. Thumbing through a novel with a page count capable of scaring off anyone who didn't delight in the written word, sat Logan. His smile was gentle, content in the way that always left Patton's heart melting. A peace was settled between the two, silence not something to fear within these walls. The stroke of bows upon the strings of a violin, or the light ping of a triangle served as their soundtrack, one that hopefully would last till the end of time. Patton took a moment to glance up from his collection of yarn. The blanket he created now spanned a few feet and settled comfortably in his lap. It would be perfect for the winter months, for the cabin grew cold even with the presence of a fire. Logan almost seemed to sense his break from work, and looked up from his novel to meet Patton's eyes. He raised a brow. "Is something wrong?" "Oh, not at all." Patton's expression softened, for he couldn't help but get lost in those eyes that shone like the night sky. "I just love all of this so much. The peace and the beauty, but most of all, you. I can't believe I got so lucky." The tips of Logan's ears reddened. "Well, I am very glad to have you as well, Patton. And you are correct. We were really struck with good fortune." A brisk wind blew a branch against the window, the sound of which startled Patton. He flinched at the sharp tap, gripping tightly to the edge of the blanket. "Is there supposed to be a storm tonight?" Logan inquired from where he sat. Patton stood and moved to gaze out the window. Clouds had gathered over the forest, and a low rumble could be heard in the distance. This time of year, it wasn't uncommon for weather to pop up at random. "I guess so." He turned from the window, unaware of the strike of lightning behind him until the thunder that followed left him recoiling. He rushed back to his crochet and wrapped the project around him in hopes of comfort. Logan had watched the whole event, and as Patton seemed to curl closer into himself as the beginnings of rain hit the windowsill, he found himself placing a bookmark in his novel and setting it to the side. "Patton," he said, "it seems the storm may be causing you some distress. Would you like to join me?" The other's eyes lit up as his lips spread into the most incredible smile Logan had ever seen. "I would love to." Patton all but raced over, coming to settle at his husband's side and leaning into his shoulder. "Thank you, Logan." "Anything for you," Logan muttered softly. He felt the brush of Patton's golden curls against his skin, and he moved to wrap his arms around Patton's shoulders. The clicking of crochet needles and turning of pages was forgotten as the two snuggled beside the light of the fire. Though the storm rumbled deeply in the distance, Patton found peace within Logan's arms. If he could choose to be anywhere in the world, he would choose here every single time, surrounded by all he held dear. Patton glanced up from where he had rested his head against Logan's chest. "I love you, Lo." Logan smiled, gently fixing the glasses which had fallen crooked upon Patton's face. "I love you." A strike of lightning flashed just outside, illuminating the night in a crack of electricity. Logan fell silent, and with it his eyes glazed over. Unseeing for a moment, he remained transfixed in a world of his own. Worried, Patton nudged him softly. "Logan, are you all right?" Something flashed across his husband's face, a flicker bright as the storm outside. Logan's face fell, something akin to tears dotting the corners of his eye. "Hey, don't worry." Patton cupped his cheek. "You're back now. I'm right here." Logan's gaze flickered down to Patton, and the sorrow in his eyes seemed to deepen. "Was it a bad vision?" Patton whispered softly, searching for anything to make such despair vanish from his husband's face. He brushed the beginnings of tears from the corners of Logan's eyes, knowing that whatever he had seen had been worse than before. Without a word, Logan moved to wrap his arms tighter around Patton. He buried his face into Patton's curls and clutched his sweater like a lifeline. From within the silence, his voice finally emerged, shaken from just before. "Promise me," he whispered into Patton's hair. "Promise me that you'll stay inside during the winter storms." "I'll sure try, but we might have to forage then." "No," Logan choked, the tone more desperate than commanding. "I can do the foraging this year. Just, please, don't go out there if the snow is blowing too harshly." Patton wasn't sure if it was the insistence in Logan's voice, the way his voice shook as he held Patton like he could vanish in a second, or the crashing of the storm outside, but he nodded. "Okay," he said. "I trust you." Logan sighed, the tenseness in his shoulders settling just slightly. "Thank you." Patton leaned into the touch, though a sense of curiosity still lingered in his mind. "What was it you saw? In the vision, I mean." Silence, besides the light roar of the fire and melody in the background. With a soft kiss to Patton's head, Logan whispered, "Nothing, I hope." Patton accepted the answer and shifted so he lay against his husband's side. Soon, the sounds of the cabin lulled him into a sleep, the worrisome events of the night forgotten. Logan held him all the while, thumbing through his novel and carting his fingers through Patton's hair as drowsiness took over. Months later, Patton would come to remember a certain promise in the midst of a cold winter morning. Whether it was too late, he would not know until the bitter winds had cleared. This has been Troubles Forgotten. Thank you so very much for listening, and I will see you next time for another story.